The blocks of houses around the glass structure collapsed like a house of cards. The ruins, the debris, fell like tiny crumbs on the sides of the immense glass monster that rose with dignified slowness from the depths of the planet below them. The peak of the monster reached the top of the glass pyramid from the inside and pushed it apart like a flimsy paper box. The four sides of the glass pyramid fell in four directions and broke into fragments. The base, like a large, curious beetle, circled around the gigantic ship that was rising more and more from the depths. They probably noticed the danger in time and rose to avoid the crumbling ruins falling on them. They did not flee too far so that they could at least record and monitor the events, even if they could no longer participate in them. Then the floor moved under their feet. They rose in the middle of the structure that had just been created before their eyes, as if they were standing in an elevator. Almost at the top, the ascent stopped, and they found themselves in a spacious room. As the shaking grew stronger, they had no better idea than to sit in the seats they found there. As they took their seats, the remaining empty seats sank into the floor, and narrow counters rose in front of the occupied seats. Schematic images of two human palms were drawn on the counters. They looked at each other questioningly. "Let's go," said Kathleen, "towards the unknown. Place your palms on the counters." "How do you know we have to do this?" asked Judy. "Maybe your grandfather said that in his dream, too," asked Annabel. "I've traveled in this ship in my dreams, but I never thought that, well, of course." "In my dreams," Annabel pouted sarcastically. "Dream or not dream. Doesn't matter. Let's try it." Laurie concluded the discussion. After some hesitation, they all placed their hands on the counters, and with that, the journey began. The monster roared, shook, and its passengers were pressed into their seats by the acceleration. They had been racing for days. They didn't know where, they didn't know how long. Shortly after takeoff, they could still see the base heading towards the asteroid Sylvia. Then they passed Jupiter, crossed the orbits of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. They had left the solar system. They were torn between despair and euphoria, unable to find their place. They were distraught because the alien ship had torn them from their usual lives, separated them from their loved ones back on Earth. At the same time, they were filled with pride at the thought of being the first to leave the solar system and meet an alien civilization. They argued, accused each other, and then consoled each other. They walked the transparent walled levels like enthusiastic explorers. They admired the beauty of the ship and enjoyed its comfort. They slowly settled into the cabins they found near the control room, but in the meantime they were tormented by uncertainty. Slowly, they didn't even feel like talking. The flow of events completely knocked everyone out of their normal rhythm of life. Only Kathleen was cheerful and calm. The others didn't understand the girl's calmness. In fact, it made them nervous. They didn't really seek her company, nor did they mind that she spent most of her time in her cabin. After a few days, Laurie thought it was time to calmly discuss what had happened to them. She called her students together into the control room. The small group soon gathered, only Kathleen was missing. Laurie didn't want to start the meeting until the whole team was together. Since no one had volunteered to go get Kathleen, she went to her herself. When she opened the door to the girl's cabin, she was sitting in front of the screen, looking at a picture, absorbed. The picture showed two old people and a little girl sitting at a table. They were eating compote from that particular pale green set. Laurie had just managed to read the caption of the picture before Kathleen erased it. Family Photo Gallery 22385.jpg. "So you didn't find it in the database," Laurie said. "No, but I needed to be sure," Kathleen replied. "You knew about this set, of course." My grandmother always served apple compote in this, as you can see in the picture. I checked the copy of the apartment 100 times, but I couldn't find this set there. I thought it wasn't here, that it didn't have to be here. I last saw it when I was a child, and I thought it had been broken, thrown away, or whatever. But when I studied the database and found the irregular, 5-plate, pale green set in the warehouse of the crockery store where my grandfather once worked, I already suspected that this is the set. Why Grandpa hid it in the shop and not in the apartment, I don't know. Maybe it was originally here, where we found it now. And he showed it to me when I was a child, just so I could remember it and recognize it later. You mean